On this channel, we have covered Elizabeth Warren, we've covered Bernie Sanders so far, and now it is time to cover basically the presumptive Democratic nominee for the presidency of the United States, Joe Biden. And just an update for you guys, I'm going to be starting a new series on this channel called Turning $100 into $1 Million. It is a series where I'm going to basically be risking $100 of my own money for your entertainment in an attempt to turn it into $1 million. Those videos are going to be basically sandwiched into all the videos I've been doing. So instead of posting every 4 days on this channel, now I'm going to be posting every other day. You're going to be seeing a new video. So be sure that you are subscribed and you do have that notification bell clicked, so that way you do not miss any of my future videos. The channel is going to grow, and I thank all of you that have been with me from the beginning. If you haven't seen my other videos yet where I did cover how a Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren presidency, of course, Elizabeth Warren is out of the race, but Bernie is still in it. You can see those links down below. I'll put them in the description. So as far as Biden, it's fair to say that his electability has been discussed a bit more than his actual policies. The former vice president is defined by what he is not, radical or revolutionary, and he is seen as best suited to defeat Donald Trump come this November. In today's deeply polarized political landscape, he is probably seen as a better candidate as a moderate, as opposed to someone like a radical like Bernie Sanders. Now, as soon as he announced his candidacy, he did pick up some high-profile endorsements. Initially, after Iowa, New Hampshire, and Nevada, his campaign looked like it was doomed and he would never come back, but then he had a sweeping victory on Super Tuesday. So now the comeback kid is seen as the favorite and most likely to win the Democratic nominee. Now, the 77-year-old's economic agenda is not as detailed as others and does not include similar sweeping proposals. But his plan is still ambitious and creates more than just a reassuring reset button for Americans rattled by Trump's presidency. Now, Biden is very focused on the middle class. Revitalizing the middle class and making it more racially inclusive is the cornerstone of the Biden campaign. He says this country was not built by Wall Street bankers and CEOs and hedge fund managers. He said it was built by the middle class. Now, this does sound like something Bernie Sanders would say, but it actually comes out of Biden's mouth. Biden has cast himself as a moderate with sensible, achievable plans. This is opposed to a leader with a revolution against income inequality. In a 2018 speech, he said that he doesn't think that 500 billionaires are the reason why we're in trouble. He said the folks at the top aren't bad guys, but he does believe in a growing and thriving middle class. He likes to think of that in terms of lifestyle and values as opposed to your income group. And he believes that this is important for social and political stability in the United States. He blames the lack of opportunity and optimism in the country for phony populism. He believes that there's a younger generation questioning the very essence of the capitalist system. Now, according to Pew Research, 52% of adult Americans lived in a middle-income household in 2016. These are adults whose annual income is 2/3 to double the national median. Now, the annual income range for a middle-class household of 3 in 2016 was $45,200 to $135,600. The U.S. does have a proportionally smaller middle class than many advanced economies, and the income disparity between groups in the middle class is growing. And according to experts, the top 20% have fully recovered from the Great Recession, whereas the middle class still hasn't reached its peak in 2007. Biden says folks in the middle class are in trouble, and it's not just their perception, they are in trouble. Now, data says that the uninsured rate has now grown for the first time since 2008-2009. In 2018, it is now 8.5% compared to 7.9% in 2017. The reason for that, Biden blames, is because of Trump's attacks on the Affordable Care Act, or Obamacare. Biden does have somewhat of a plan for healthcare. Biden as president promises to build and protect on top of the Affordable Care Act. He does want to ensure that healthcare for all is a human right and not just a privilege, but he does not support Medicare for all. He wouldn't want to eliminate private insurance because it would mean eliminating the hard-won Obamacare. He would have to start all over on political negotiations and would rather just build on top of what he's already done. And in the debates, he has argued that Medicare for all would cost tens of trillions of dollars over the next 10 years. So what type of health insurance do Americans have? Well, this is a chart showing the percentage of people by type of health insurance in 2017 and 2018. And you could take a look here at the 2017 and 2018 numbers. Employment-based was definitely the majority in both years, with 55.4% in 2017 and 55.1% in 2018. And direct purchase was under there with 11% in 2017, 10.8% in 2018. But a lot of Americans are on Medicare and Medicaid, with the numbers being about the same in both years. But you do see that uninsured number did rise from 2017 to 2018, 7.9 in 2017 and 8.5% in 2018. Biden says his healthcare proposal will expand Obamacare so that way 97%, that's 97% of Americans are insured. And as opposed to Bernie Sanders' plan, this would only cost $750 billion over the next 10 years. He wants to introduce a public health insurance option like Medicare. This proposal would be premium free to states that have not expanded Medicaid. It'd also be free to people making below 138% of the poverty level. Biden also wants to eliminate the 400% of federal poverty level income cap for tax credit eligibility and lower employers' maximum contribution for coverage to 8.5%. In addition, he also promises to bar healthcare providers from surprise billing and address market concentration in the industry. He also wants to allow Medicare to negotiate lower prices with drug manufacturers, establish an independent review board that will recommend a reasonable price for drugs with no competition. He wants to penalize drug price increases over the inflation rate and end tax deduction for all prescription drug ads, and support the development of generics and restore federal funding for Planned Parenthood. Biden also has a pro-growth progressive tax code. As far as taxes, his plan is expected to raise an additional $4 trillion in revenue over a decade. According to the Tax Policy Center, the highest income 20% of households who will make about $170,000 or more would bear nearly 93% of the burden of Biden's proposed tax increase, and the top 1% nearly 3/4. So here's a list of the changes he wants to make. Number one, he wants to raise the top income tax rate back to 39.6% from 37%. He also wants to tax capital gains and dividends at ordinary rates for those with annual incomes over $1 million. For the wealthy investors watching this channel, you might get a little bit more hurt under a Biden presidency than Trump's. He also wants to tax unrealized capital gains at death. He wants to apply Social Security payroll tax for those earning over $400,000 a year. He wants to close stepped-up basis loopholes. He wants to raise the top corporate income tax rate to 28% from 21%. He wants to impose a 15% minimum tax on book income of large companies, at least $100 million in annual net income. And he also wants to tax profits earned from foreign subsidiaries of U.S. firms at 21%. Now this chart here shows the largest federal tax expenditures in the 2019 fiscal year. So tax exclusion for employer-sponsored health insurance, that was at $164.1 billion. Reduced rates of tax on dividends and long-term capital gains are at $127 billion. Credit for children and other dependents are at $121.2 billion. And in 2019, tax benefits for employer-defined contribution plans were at $121.8 billion. Tax benefits for defined benefit plans were at $90.2 billion, and earned income credit was at $71.4 billion. And when it comes to debt and workers, Biden does not want to cancel all student debt like a Bernie Sanders would. But he did take his plan from Sanders that he wants to now make all public colleges and universities tuition free. But this would only be for families whose income is under $125,000 a year. Biden tweeted that it's a good idea, and after consideration, he's proud to add it to his platform. But Sanders wants to remove all tuition costs for public colleges and universities, regardless of your income status. But in a bit of a flip-flop, he has also fully endorsed and adopted Senator Elizabeth Warren's plan to change the personal bankruptcy laws that Biden himself helped shape. This is titled "Fixing Our Bankruptcy System to Give People a Second Chance," and this would make student loans dischargeable. It also streamline and simplify the personal bankruptcy process to make it a lot more cheaper and flexible. Now, he does support raising the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour. He wants to give workers a lot more bargaining power by getting rid of the non-compete clauses. He wants to remove rules and contracts that prevent workers from discussing pay with each other. He wants to stop companies from classifying low-wage workers as managers to avoid paying them overtime. And he also wants international trade rules that protect our workers, safeguard the environment, uphold labor standards and middle-class wages. He wants to foster innovation and take on big global challenges like corporate concentration, corruption, and climate change. Now this chart here shows the U.S. household debt in the trillions of dollars, and it goes up to the fourth quarter of 2018 and starts from the first quarter of 2003. Student loans definitely have risen. They have not dropped at all. And mortgages have risen, but they did drop between 2008 and 2011, probably because of the 2008 Great Recession. But the total debt has seen a pretty continuous rise. Biden has laid out a ton of plans when it comes to infrastructure and climate change. When he was vice president, he once called the New York City LaGuardia Airport a third world airport. In a speech about infrastructure in the U.S., he said, "Look, we need roads, we need waterways, we need ports to move our products, we need highways and transit to get workers to and from work. We need lightning-fast broadband to communicate. It's not a luxury, it's an absolute necessity to compete with the rest of the world." He said we need a massive investment in infrastructure, roads, bridges, airports, broadband. We've been lagging for too many years now. Biden wants to spend $1.3 trillion on infrastructure over a decade. This includes $50 billion in his first year for repairing highways, bridges, and roads. And that same first year would also be $20 billion on rural broadband infrastructure. He also wants $400 billion over 10 years to create a new federal agency that would conduct research on clean energy. He also wants $5 billion over 5 years for electric car battery technology. And he also wants $10 billion over 10 years on transit projects in high poverty areas. Now, Biden's website does say that he supports the idea of a Green New Deal. The website also says he wants to rejoin the Paris Agreement and he wants to ensure that the US reaches net zero emissions to no later than 2050. Now, in order to build that 100% clean energy economy, he will sign a series of executive orders and push Congress to do the same kind of legislation. Now, his plan to tackle climate change will require $1.7 trillion over a 10-year period, but he does not mention a ban on fracking. Climate change has been undeniably a weak spot for Biden's campaign. Commentators have written about him saying that he struggled when he was posed with questions regarding the topic. Biden also wants to help rural communities, which make up 20% of the US population. He wants to fight for fair trade deals and create low-carbon manufacturing jobs. He wants to reinvest in agricultural research. He wants to improve access to federal funds and resources for farmers and small businesses. He wants to expand health services and medical training programs. And he wants to spend 10% of federal program funding in areas with persistent poverty. Many are saying that we will see a repeat of 2016 with an Obama-era establishment candidate getting once again defeated by Donald Trump. Hardcore Bernie Sanders supporters say that Bernie would be the only possible candidate to defeat Donald Trump because we don't want a repeat of someone like a moderate like a John Kerry. We are seeing that repeat of 2004 where we have an incumbent Republican and the Democrats are quickly rallying around a moderate candidate. Granted, there is still somewhat of a chance for Bernie to make a comeback, but it is looking like, especially if you look at all the betting odds, that Biden will be the nominee. So for all the fellow Democrats out there, I'm curious to hear which candidate you are supporting, Bernie Sanders or Joe Biden. Tell me down in the comments down below. And for all the fellow Republicans out there, let me know in the comments down below why you think Donald Trump will defeat Biden. Again, I'm going to be starting that new series soon. It's going to be a stock trading series where I'm going to be making a video sandwiched in between every one of my usual 4-day videos. Hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, if you got value out of it, be sure to give it a big thumbs up, smash that like button. And if you'd like to see more videos from my channel, again, I am going to be starting that new series soon. This is a brand new series that I've never done before. Be sure that you are subscribed. And if you'd like to get a notification every single time I make a new one, be sure that you hit that little notification bell as well, so you're notified every single time I make a new video. See you in the next one.